hear the matter through before you judge. The division that divides. Now, some would say, oh, those evil Democrats in a speech to Congress March 4th, 2025 by our president would not even stand for the child with brain cancer or the victims of murdered children. That may seem to be true, but in reality is not. I, first of all, am a Christian. Then I am a Republican. Yet we, all people, Democrats and Republicans together, are all accountable before God to not embrace lies of whoever we deem our leader, to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves, love our enemies, and most certainly we are not guiltless before God when we parrot lies with no discretion because those people of the party that we're not part of get on our nerves. Or so did the Democrats refuse to stand for the victims of horrendously murdered little girl and a sweet child inflicted with a terrible disease that is a survivor adoringly wanting to be a police officer? Or what about the courageous act of the died for his family father and husband who covered his loved ones with his own body? Should not these people be embraced with love? Most importantly, the protection of parents' rights against the demonic attack of Christian parents, or any parent's right to know when some evil act of trying to change their child's gender without their permission in reality is a human rights violation? Please hear me out, though, on some very important things that have been missed. And God is calling me out to speak these things. Lukewarmness, speaking as a Christian, is a very, very dangerous thing that seeps into not just individual Christian hearts and lives, but into churches and groups of denominations and Christianity as a whole in so many ways. One way is to close the ears to the whole perspective, all of the facts. Hear all things, prove all things, to take one side without searching, looking, be willing to be open that not all things are being presented, to have no heart to hear both sides because the other side is people we despise or don't trust, not in line with, etc., etc. So many things can be listed here. It is not okay before God, as a Christian, to not be willing to hear some of the things that may be valid on an opposing party and be dismissive of their entire position without hearing, such as the Democratic decision to stage a in-unity protest of solidarity because of some or all of the things Trump is doing. Please, before I go further, remember that Democrats in Congress all vote together with Republicans on everything that happens in our country. The laws that get passed or failure to impeach a president for violation of laws are actually bipartisan, such as when people who flooded our country by the millions and abuse of refugee programs, while 33 conflicts exist around the globe, and we actually need to take in people who just wanted to immigrate here, not really in need of refugee status, abused the refugee program. Over 250,000 children are missing. Many, these are immigrants, many who are suspected to be trafficked. My fact checking read actual government documents saying in fact they cannot monitor the amount of people and children coming in. One reason for yearly cap by law on how many refugees can come in each year based on ability to monitor, vet, process, provide for, etc., etc. Oops. The abuse of the refugee programs, the misappropriation of funds, the unlawful way many entered to avoid being vetted, these are valid issues. Yet the guilt of such is not just Biden. The guilt of that is Republican congressmen, of which not one even attempted to impeach or take to federal court to fight the federal laws being violated, that Biden was doing, not just to protect our immigration and refugee programs, but to protect our refugees also being dumped in cities where there wasn't really the jobs or the money to take care of them, then tossed out on the street because they abused our program. The government did. The guilt of Christians' failure to hold our Republican congressmen accountable for failure to do so, not even trying. For that law specifically, nobody challenged in court. Then the 45 Democrats and 30 Republicans who voted to provide aid to Ukraine last year did so together. Now we have a man who is threatening any congressperson if they don't do exactly as he wants to help the opponent of them win next election. Let that sink in. The refugee programs he is overthrowing are in fact programs voted on by both Republicans and Democrats. So he's making everything he wants to override all about what he wants. And to heck with Republicans and Democrats both who voted for them. To heck with power of Congress is what he wants. To heck with judges who say, no, you cannot override Congress because if they defy him, his pal Elon will use his money to threaten any legislator if they don't vote to impeach Congress. Yeah, such acts are not from God's will for America. The richest man in the world is controlling our Congress, or trying to. Justice is told, yes, he did this, I heard it with my own ears, that they will be impeached if they don't rule in favor of our president. A vice president telling the world that justices of the lower court does not have to be obeyed if he or they do not accept the decision. It's established law that even if a judge is wrong, failure to comply with an order is in fact contempt. So when you have a man being allowed to tell all of Congress if they don't do as he wants, he will help their opponent against them win, and then announced he wants judges impeached if they go against Trump, so they must vote against any judge they want impeached, or he will make sure they lose in the next election, be they Democrat or Republican, that is terrorism of our system. Did he say these things? Yes. Yes, he did. Meanwhile, there are starving babies who both parties voted for aid for, and such was ready to be shipped. That peanut butter powder sits in a warehouse already paid for by our tax dollars, already paid for, ready to be distributed, voted on by both parties. As a show of power, now sits despite our legislators, we the people, voted in power, wanted to send in warehouses, not being sent as babies who rely on that just to exist and survive. And that is not saving money. That is waste. Is this true? Yes. I spend hours fact-checking and researching, not media stories or vloggers, actual evidence. Yes, that is happening. I have listened to the many people who are farmers, hardworking people, some who are Democrats, some Republican, being cut off, and now in great peril. Our most diverse workforce of the world, military and veterans who were not just fired but done so in such a cruel way, who are Republicans and Democrat both, all ethnicities and both genders. I have listened to their stories. As a veteran for over 3 decades, listening to veterans who serve at the VA, told after getting 5 out of 5 work performance reviews that they had poor performance, so that they are let go. Paid for media presents a couple veterans in their stories about how they think that there's nothing wrong with what's happening, while ignoring, many of them ignoring, many veterans and what is actually happening. Veterans with 5 out of 5 work performance reviews of all ethnicities are told they had no performance. It doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat. It's systemic what they're doing. They're told they had poor performance despite 5 out of 5 work performance reviews and let go. That's so they can't appeal or even get unemployment while they're waiting for their next job, or make it harder for them while searching for the next job, or make it harder for them to even get that next job because they lied on them and said they had poor performance, so they were fired. That such a lie about them could even hurt their getting another good job. Veterans who risked their lives to serve the country and did so honorably, to be treated like that was not bad enough. That Trump's lawyer spouts off, yes, heard her with my own ears, saying they are not fit. Wow. Then there are the Medicaid cuts and Elon calling our Social Security a Ponzi scheme. Not talking about, yes, there are errors in it, and my own horror that it was being used to give to some illegals who just came here illegally, not even going through the ports of entry. Yes, that was happening. But the margin of error is so exaggerated, they're just lying to people, making them thinking that all these millions of people are getting checks. None of that is true. The margin of error is extremely exaggerated, and they spill lies. But it wasn't even that. It was the he, which I've heard with my own ears, called our Social Security system a Ponzi scheme in general. He doesn't believe in the Social Security in general. He's an atheist who, instead of using his billions to help the world in compassionate ways to use money, he seeks to spend billions on something according to the Bible will never happen. To have people live on Mars or go to Mars. To lie to the people and say that they will get $5,000 to keep the support of people up. No. Only certain tax brackets of people who pay taxes will get that $5,000. If that is passed. Despite the fact every person, if you look at the details, only people in certain brackets will get that money. Despite the fact every person, poor or rich, pays taxes equally every time they buy groceries or anything in stores. How about people who have a card showing their income bracket have to pay less taxes when they buy groceries? No? Well, every person pays taxes equally every time they buy groceries or anything in the stores, pays property taxes, car income taxes. Some pay more based on value of how much they make. But everyone pays taxes in various ways. When he says, hey, that money we are saving instead of going to the debt is going to give to only some the $5,000, yet misleads people when saying in a way that makes people think everyone's going to get that check, because he says, it's your money, right? So in essence, since only certain tax brackets will get it, that is saying that it's your money, right? It belongs only to them. Then there is fact he is using victims of murdered children, raped children, brain cancer to showboat away from the fact he's taking away from cancer research that saves children and many people, so he can act like he cares about cancer issues. Taken away from Medicaid, causing so many to suffer. Oh, just wait. Just wait. Then there is the outlandish lie on the Zelensky letter. He omitted the fact it did not change anything he asked for, except it made sure to put in all the thank yous in writing, so Trump cannot spread more lies claiming he has not been thankful. Yet treating our defense of them as a charity is the big lie. Zelensky's letter is public. It is conditional upon prisoner swap and security guarantees, just as he said before. He is not giving over assets of his country worth trillions, nor should he. The $300 billion of assets of Russia Europe has control of will be used, the interest off of that, if need be. And they already voted on by 30 Republicans and 45 Democrats the amount not yet appropriated. Oh, that will go to Ukraine. Because Trump's hatred of NATO, since the many thousands of dollars he put on ads, he spent that much money on ads in the 80s after his visits to Moscow, because he wanted to build a fancy hotel there. He agreed to advocate against NATO. He now continues his long history of anti-NATO with using lies as a platform to do so. Praise God, the Supreme Court did just say no. President has power to override the votes of Congress in denying his ability to just cancel USAID programs. You see, the Republicans he is surrounded by, of course, are the oligarch crew who voted no for support to Ukraine last year, and of course are doing illegal acts to try to block the already appropriated funds with lies that Biden this and Biden that. Biden nothing. 30 Republicans voted for that. NATO, we are bound to by law, and only set amount of votes in Senate can end our membership with NATO. Ukraine helped us after 9/11 and other missions, and we never asked for money back from them. We send money to Israel and never ask for that back. And we're not giving defense to Ukraine. We owe defense to Ukraine. It is literally in writing. They did nothing to deserve being slaughtered. Putin wants the oil, gas, coal, and minerals, period. Bully who thought he could just take it. Then there is Panama. Then there is Canada and Greenland. Trump is also bullying. Wow. When the Bible says every idle word we speak, so if we parrot stuff our leader says without fact-checking facts, oops. Ukraine was the third largest nuclear arsenal in the world. They could defend themselves. They had such a wealth of minerals, coal, gas, and oil to defend. Their mistake was to trust the USA and other countries to be their defense if they gave in to Russia and others to rid their power and ability to defend themselves, their nukes. We are their defense if they are invaded. It is not charity, nor do they owe us anything. Had we had boots on the ground as we promised and went in to defend as we owed them, the invasion would not have happened. It wouldn't have happened if they still had their nukes too. Oh, but we would go to nuclear war, says so many, if we went in there and helped defend them like that. Really? Well, if you believe that, then consider this. Trump is putting our boots on the ground to guard minerals. Not humans, we owed boots on the ground, but minerals. So our boots there will prevent further invasion, right? When Democrats win next time, because the middle group of lean Democrats and lean Republicans, the very middle group that swings elections more than anything, yes, that is right, Putin will be right back at waging war. Wait! People who think Democrats or Republicans who are diehard Republican or diehard Democrats are what win elections? Wow. That middle ground of people who would vote Republican and swing their vote if the issues are serious enough that they are most concerned about in the moment, and vice versa, or young people who have not thought things through, caught up in the lies of some media stunt or controlled social media platform coverage, that middle group in a country so deeply divided, they make or break an election. Yes, we all vote together, but the only vote one-siders are not enough to win an election. It is always that middle group of people who push an election over the edge, one way or the other. So the people in the middle who have dropped Trump's support already because of the abuse of veterans, because of the horrific display of criminal media in the Oval Office as they attacked a man with lies, acted like Putin's attack was his fault, defied NATO, refused to hear the plea for 20,000 hostages, after declaring more war in Gaza over a few hostages not released. The peanut butter powder sitting in warehouses already paid for going to waste as babies starve to death. The axing Medicaid and so many programs the middle group relies on. Oh, if the election happened today, he would lose, and lose big. No matter what the media says, he has lost so much support already. So when the Democrats don't stand for a boy with cancer, it does not mean they don't care about him, but because he manipulated a show of that boy with cancer to evade the issue of cancer research he cut, and healthcare programs he's also cutting. The threats on every congressperson Elon has made if they don't do as he advises, that's why they sat in unity. It is for the children with cancer he cut from. They sat through. As much as Democrats abhor me with their never-ending attack on Christian liberty, though I love them as a human being, I see also an attack on our freedom. The fact Trump announced to the whole world Elon Musk is running Doge and head of it, as Republicans applauded, they sat. You know why? Every case in federal court I have read and followed. And he lied to federal judges to win stays in anything he can, and to demolish checks and balances of our system. He wants the president to take away power of Congress who vote pass laws and let him override that. So, they said, get this, Elon Musk does not work for nor is running Doge. It's in writing. Google it. He said that. His position is top advisor and special government employee. So he lied to federal judges. And as a display of I can lie and admit my lies in front of Supreme Court justices to their face, because that is how powerful and great I am, he admitted to the world and the top judges of our country's face as they sat there in front of him. Oh, by the way, yeah, Elon Musk is running Doge, an agency he created with no Congress approval. Because Elon is allowed to use his money to threaten any legislator to make sure they lose with use of his money to their opponent. They do nothing. Some of the positions of Democrats are wrong. Some of them are right. Yet right now, the support of Trump to use victims as evading attention to the cancer research he just cut, the health care of vets so harmed, the health care via cuts of Medicaid he's doing, is why they did not applaud. Not because they don't care about that little boy. He was so cute too, bless his heart. The lukewarmness of Christians in America, my prayer and hope is that the good Trump, with his delusion of grandeur and narcissism personality that he has, there's some very important things needed immediate help. He has done some good, but the courts will temper him. It is the courts who decide on transgenderism, not Trump. Yet he can do immediate actions. The court will say if it is constitutional for lasting effects. It is the courts who will decide his cuts are legal or not. It is the courts who will decide if he can just overpower Congress and stop appropriated funds voted on by both parties, overriding the people's votes of those people who voted on him. He closed the border. That was good. Protected the border. That was in fact a danger to our country, what was happening. Yet no way has he helped to balance our immigration program of desperate people who really do need refugee status. Those are programs that make up our budget and moral and spiritual responsibilities of our nation. Yet he started attacking even people who served for the residency cleared by our government for some minor transgression. He has deported people who came here legally, will be executed because they are from a country who does not allow for conversion to Christianity. Yes, all these things I've researched and fact-checked. You don't have to believe me. That is between you and God. Yet I am moved in spirit to point these things out. No, it is not okay to not fact check everything a leader does. It is not okay to look away from acts you or your children, your loved ones, your friends do that are just wrong. It is never okay to act like your leader can do no wrong. It is not okay to refuse to listen to the other side and just dismiss everything they say just because they are the other side of your position. Christians need to pray for our justices to stand fearless to the threats of Elon Musk to remove them from power for any justice who power checks Trump, because he's in fact, that is their job. The fact of the calling unlawful the acts of Trump to overpower Congress on aid already voted on by both Republicans and Democrats to just refuse to send such aid. The vote was 5-4, and that's alarming. It should have been 0 on the dissent. The most basic idea of our nation is checks and balances. When our bipartisan legislators can no longer vote on things and not overrode by a president after it's signed into law, such as the USAID and appropriations were, we truly have become a dictatorship. Pay your bills and then give to charity. Pay who you owe first is biblical principles. It is a sin to owe and give money away while you harm others by not paying them what you owe. Yet our budget includes helping others. And our global positions in helping others is the money we take in, we give to our programs. Then we also give some to others. Yet not only did they slash from our own programs and cut from VA, yet that, yes, despite the lies, is harming vets. If you're not willing to listen to the veterans, not the mainstream media presentation, but the ones affected, and you do not want the truth. The children with cancer that benefit from research just cut. I commend the Democrats, as hard as that was, knowing people would judge them for not standing. They sat for the rest of the children so affected. The 20,000 Ukrainians taken hostage with no hope of ever being returned unless people speak for them, they sat. He made a show of the one American he got out of Russia. What about the 20,000 in Russia of Ukrainians, as if they don't matter? He threatened war for a few Israel hostages. Yet the evil done to a Jewish president while he begs for 20,000 Ukrainians, as if they don't matter. Yes, Trump will not allow consideration of those people to be in agreement. He used the Kremlin to live stream lies to Russia, then lied and said they did not invite them, as if they could get past Sacred Service like that. Unknown. For the babies starving to death, promised that peanut butter powder sitting in warehouses while they starved to death. Already paid for, they sat. For the fired veterans lied on, who had perfect work performances, told they are unfit, they sat. For the 20,000 Ukrainians who God has heard their cries, want to come home, that Trump won't acknowledge, they sat. For the children with cancer relying on cancer research programs, affected by slashing of that program, they sat. For their immigrants who came in legally, who will be executed if returned to Iran. Or for the ones who are being boxed in with the evil criminals because Trump rarely peppers his speech about immigrants that so many are wonderful people and really need help. Or tries to defend them as victims too, being combined with the criminals. They sat. Yes, what Biden did to the immigration system was horrific, but the Republicans who did not impeach violation of the yearly cap are to blame too. Some of the things they sat for are, well, dumb. Yet we have to not accept the destruction of power of Congress, nor listen to just what the media says and fact check the stuff ourselves, and to make America great again. This is what we should listen to. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face, not Donald Trump's face in a war-torn land called Gaza, and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land.